Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about today. So today we're going to do PC parts. We're going to talk about like what's inside your computer and how all that stuff works. There'll be a little quiz on Schoology for you to go over. It's like a matching thing. Just did you understand that conversation? And then we're gonna have a grade assignment, and I'll pull it up for you guys. You can see it, and I'm gonna have you guys build a custom PC. You don't actually build it yourself, but you'll find the parts and whatnot. I'll give you a budget, and so you'll know all the pieces that go into building a computer. Sound like a good plan? Sweet. And then hello stream. Those of y'all joining us online. Uh, let's get going. Okay, so I'm gonna start off though. By pitching this assignment to y'all so that you know what the end goal is. Does that sound good? Yes? Okay. So here's what I'm going to have y'all work on. So I've given you a copy of that. Do I need to zoom in a little bit? That'd be helpful. Yes? No? Maybe? All right, we're going to zoom in. All right, so I've shared this with you in the assignments. I think if it doesn't work out, y'all need to tell me. And these are all the different category of PC parts that we're going to go over today. And so as we talk about them, then you may want to take notes or however you learn best. If you take mental notes, if you whatever. So these are all the categories. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the name of the actual PC part. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Newegg, wherever you want. You'll tell me how much it cost for that part. And then you're going to tell me what that does. So like, what does a CPU do? Right, what does a motherboard do? All that. You're going to use these two complete sentences. I gave you a sentence stem so that you could start off one sentence. And then you're going to give me the link to the actual item that you said so that I can, fact check you. And we're going to try to build a PC for less than $1,000. It's totally doable. Right? Now, if you have specific games that you want to play for added challenge, you could look up minimum specifications for like Call of Duty or what else do y'all playing these days? Fortnite, World of Warcraft, yeah. What? Warzone. Isn't that Call of Duty? Uh-huh. Yeah. Or like, NBA, 2K, whatever they're on now these days. So anyway, but that's the grade, and all this makes up a major grade. So it shouldn't be too difficult, right? Right? Maybe, right? All right. So let's talk about these categories. Boom. So here's our categories. Let's do the easy ones first. What do y'all know? Mouse. How do you describe a mouse? See, you say you know what a mouse is, but then I ask you for the description, and I get just quiet. The device? On the screen? Yeah? Cool. Why does it matter if it's expensive or not? Like how does cost play in? So like the more it costs, what quality? What's the difference between a $5 mouse and a $50 mouse? Or is it just the $5 mouse shows that you're not not the $50 mouse shows that you're stupid? Like, is it just like people are dumb if they pay more money for a more expensive mice? What's the difference with a more expensive mouse? Okay, the more it costs, the Heavier. The latency is lower. Heavier it is. We have a mouse at our house that they actually gave us ball bearings, so that you could open up the bottom and you could add weight to it. So if it was too light for you, you could adjust it, whatnot. Latency. What's latency? So response speed, right? Might be more additional buttons. Stuff like that. Cool? All right, what's another one? Keyboard. What's a keyboard? The device you type with. The more it costs. What? What do you get with a more expensive keyboard? Okay. The prettier it is. The more responsive slash feels better to type with. Right, those mechanical ones, like it's kind of nice when you push down and it gives you some resistance there. May light up. May change colors as it goes. Right. Okay, what's another device? Monitor. Device that displays what the PC needs to show. Is there a better definition for that y'all want to throw out there? Man, you're ready to just move on this thing, aren't you? The more it costs, what? The what? I can't hear you. I'm sure that I can move my screen. Oh, a refresh rate. So the images look smoother, right? What else? There's really not a whole lot of latency on the monitor, because it's such a short cable. But you're right. There's some there. Larger the screen, right? I mean, usually that's like the main thing you're paying for. Larger the screen, more pixels in the screen, which gives you a higher definition. Okay. What are we doing next? PC parts, come on. The case. What does the case do? Must match the motherboard. Right? The more it costs? What? If you pay more for a case, what do you think will happen? Okay? The bigger it might be. More durable. Might be bigger, might be more durable. Might be prettier. Lights or whatever. Space for cooling devices. Right? If you have a processor, which we'll talk about in just a minute, if it gets super hot, you may need that additional space to cool things down. Anything else? For the case, yeah. Going once, twice. All right. What's another piece we can talk about? Motherboard. What is a motherboard? Kind of. It's like the roads for the information. Right? So like it connects everything. So everybody goes to the motherboard. Every device. So you're going to plug in your graphics cards into the motherboard, your sound cards, your power supply gets plugged in the motherboard, your monitor, your mouse, your keyboard, all goes into the motherboard, except the monitor sometimes goes to the graphics card, but that's another issue. But for the most part, everything kind of goes through the motherboard. And certain motherboards only work with certain CPUs, which is important because if you buy the wrong motherboard for the CPU that you have, then you just wasted money. And they won't work. So you need to check that when you price it. A lot of times they'll sell them as a package. Or they'll at least say like, if you're buying the CPU, they'll go, we recommend these motherboards. And then once you have a CPU motherboard, then you buy a case based on those. So, okay. The more it costs, the more slots it might have, the faster it might be, lasts longer, all that. Probably don't want to be cheap on your motherboard. Do what? Motherboards? They're not too bad. I definitely wouldn't ever always go with the cheapest option. I would go like one or two options up the ladder. What is another piece? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more left. Pick one we haven't described. The brand? RAM. What on here would be RAM? That is not RAM. Memory. RAM. Okay, what is RAM? All right, short-term memory. Kind of like the kitchen counters. So if you imagine that you're cooking something, right? You take it out of the pantry and you put it on the counter. You take something else out of the pantry, you put it on the counter. You could have like an entire storage room of stuff. But if your counter space is small, it's really hard to cook. That makes sense? So you can say like, I have all these hard drives and I have like a bunch of USB flash drives and I've bought like 20 SSDs and tried to plug them in. And if you have like 2 gigs of RAM, you have a tiny counter space and you're never going to be able to do all the stuff that you want to because your counter space is too small. And this stuff is expensive in terms of how much it costs compared to storage because it's built to be accessed quickly so the computer can process correctly at the correct times. So that's RAM. The more you pay, or the more it costs, the more you get. The speed is faster. Durability lasts longer. I mean, it's not actually going to you're not going to be hitting it with anything, but it just has a longer lifespan. Okay, what else y'all talk about? CPU. What does it stand for? Is a set of chips. You almost always buy them as a chipset. And it is the main computer. Like when you talk about what is a computer, it computes things. It crunches numbers and performs the operations. The more it costs, the what? The faster it is, the more it can do. So there's a difference. Okay, I want you to listen to the difference here. If I want to have 20 math problems done, I could ask 20 really slow people to do one problem each. Or I could ask one person to do those problems 20 times faster than one person could. So you have one really smart person, they get it done quick, I'll do all 20 problems. Or you have 20 people, they each do one problem and it takes the same amount of time for the work to get done. Yes? Okay. The faster it is the one man that can do 20 problems. The more it can do, sometimes they take multiple processors and they put their power together. So you have cheaper options that are working together and they're doing separate tasks, and you don't pay as much, but you're paying for two of them. And you get the same amount of work done, they just take a long time. They just individually can't do it themselves. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, you want to do storage now? Sure. What's the acronym for that? RAM and ROM. And I don't think, I rarely hear talk about it. But storage could be SSD card, SSD drives. Actually, it's just SSDs. Hard drive, flash drives, CD drive if you're old, cloud space. I mean, that's real old, yeah. Network access, network drives. All this down says your storage. Yeah? Huh? Yeah, I mean, the only time you really use CDs right now is if you want to install software. Or, sure. This is your long-term memory. Kind of like the kitchen pantry. So RAM's like your counter, right? And so you go get stuff out of your pantry and you put it on your counter and you work with it. And when you're done, you go put it back in the pantry and you can clear your counter off and it's all clean. Sure. Or you have to trash it if you don't have space for it. The more you pay, the more it costs. What? Tell me about it. What happens when it's more expensive? Okay, more storage space. What else? The faster it loads information. That's why, like, if you have graphic asset-intensive games, they recommend you have an SSD. Because SSDs just pop that information out quickly. SSDs are small, and they're pretty much like RAM, but they're hard drives. They have about the same access speed as a RAM, and you would put on it like your operating system and any like 1 or 2 games that you play. And whenever it's on an SSD, they load very quickly. It's an external hard drive. Yeah, it's an external hard drive. It's like a hard drive you put in your computer, but it's just all in the box. The faster it loads information. Anything else? More reliable it would be. If you buy a cheap hard drive, it's going to fail. When it fails, you lose everything on there. If everything that you have though is either game-based or is in the cloud, then you don't have to worry about it. Buy all the cheap supplies, cheap memory you want. Right? So if I have a PC and all I do is play Warzone and check my email, I could buy the cheapest, most unreliable hard drives possible, because 5 years, 3 years down the line, whenever those fail, then I just go buy more. Then hard drive space is always going down in cost. I just buy more of the cheap stuff, put it in, and go. If, however, I am taking my hard drive space and I'm putting my family pictures on there, I'm putting pictures of my kids who are, I don't know, they're babies, and my wife's going to be super ticked if that hard drive fails, then I don't want to buy the cheapest option, right? I kind of want to buy something that's a little bit more durable, a little more reliable, do some backing up of it, just to help me know that my information is secure. Make sense? Okay. We've got 3 more. And it all doesn't fit on a screen right now. So, if you haven't been taking notes, hopefully you're taking mental notes. GPU, what is that? It's either graphical. I think it's graphical. Pretty sure. It's also known as your graphics card. What does it do? Okay. It performs the math to show 3D objects. The more it costs, the more objects it can show at a higher resolution. The GPU itself? 800,000? The whole cost of the computer, of your budget computer, could be spent on just a GPU. And it looks nice. If you're just, it's like, it bugs me when someone's like, look at this sweet rig I have, and they have like a $600 graphics card, and I'm like, what do you do? Watch Netflix. You could do so many cooler things with that. Or you could have just saved the money and not had that on your computer. So, all right, what is this? PSU. It's a unit. Which word? Do you want the P or the U? It's a device that provides safe electricity to your components. They're not expensive. Don't be cheap. So the more it costs, the better it handles surges. Do y'all know what a surge is? What's a power surge? Yeah, when lightning hits power lines, electricity runs through all the electrical outlets, and anything that's plugged in that's not plugged into a surge protector, and even if you are plugged into a surge protector, it's not 100% safe. But it sends electricity through the system so that it fries the stuff inside. Sure, they black out because the surge protectors said, it's too much power, and they shut off everything so the systems don't get damaged. Because if you were to, you're just chugging in so much more power in there than you need to. What a power supply unit does is not only does it protect against that, but it takes all the electricity that you're sending and it turns it to smaller amounts for these smaller, delicate PC parts. Right? So the more it costs, the better it handles surges. And the more power it can convert to safer levels. Pretty much. That's what that little charging box is that goes from the USB cord to your phone. It's not great, but your device isn't worth that much. So, all right, last one, sound card. This is optional. And we'll talk about the optional in just a second. What does a sound card do? So it provides speakers or headphones with sound output from the computer. The more it costs, what? And more channels. That's network latency. Yep. What we didn't cover here were like network cards. But a lot of times that's just like a Wi-Fi stick or just plugging the network cable into the motherboard. But optional, so sound cards, if you choose not to buy a sound card for your project, that's the only thing on the list that you don't need to have. If you choose not to have a sound card, then what you're going to do is you're going to plug your speakers and stuff, whatnot, into your motherboard, wherever that is, all the way up here. So we'll put the little star. Motherboards have built-in sound cards in case you don't want to buy one. And then also, they're almost always terrible, but for GPUs as well, have built-in graphics cards. But it's kind of like taking a pillow on an airplane flight. You don't ever want to rely on the pillow that they provide you if you're going to have a good 18, 20-hour flight, because the pillow they give you is pretty much like sleeping on a small rock. It's better just to bring your own pillow, right? So there you go. We just talked about all of them, filled them in. Hopefully you took notes. So for this project, I'll bring the website back up. So what you're going to do is you're going to copy this spreadsheet and fill it out yourself. You're going to find the name of a CPU. You're going to tell me how much it costs. You're going to tell me what it does for you, which should be like an abbreviated version of what I just typed out. You're going to be the link on where I can buy it. For the major grade, yeah. Yeah, just got to give me 2 sentences about why you want it, how much it costs, name, and link. And I want you to keep it under 1,000. See if you can build a computer for less than $1,000. Not going to fail you if it's not, but there's your challenge. Yes? Is it cheaper to buy a pre-made one, or is it cheaper? You'll find out. And then, yeah, so there's that. And then the only other thing you have to do today is there's a PC part quiz on Schoology. Should hopefully be easy if you paid attention to the conversation. Any concerns? Going once. Going twice. Bye, stream.